The return of the infamous Nigella seeds. Why infamous? Hello. Hello, all. Okay, let's get cracking. Hey, I'm not in charge of time zones. You say this to me with a cry emoji as if I control everything in the world. I don't even control my own body. Spontaneous live? Yeah, aren't they all kind of spontaneous lives? I thought that was my thing, but maybe not. I am going to make some crackers. They're not exactly trash crackers. They're something that I'm trying to use the Nigella seeds in, so we're just testing a little bit. Hopefully it'll come out easy breezy since crackers should not be that hard to make. We like ease. I like ease. We need a little more ease in our lives, especially on a Monday morning. I had a hard time getting out of bed today. I just spilled tea everywhere. It was rainy. I think daylight savings is continuing to confuse the body, and hi Costa Rica. Missed the last 2 lives. How are you? Did you do on that date? Did I do what on that date? Did I do what on that date? Hi Toronto. Cool. How did your youtiao come out? Did you like? Would you do again? Hello Israel. Hello Philippines. To get my shit together. Hi Germany. You are hooked on figs and Baileys? Yes, it is very dangerous. I'm so sorry to have introduced that sinful combination to you. I have ruined so many people's lives. Do you want to go back to full-time work? I think it depends. It depends on a lot of things, actually. Whether or not I can find a employer that can be not an asshole, who can also pay me the way that they should pay me in this time, and if I like the work enough to relinquish free time to make my own content. They are all thoughts I continue to think about almost every day, which is why I'm so tired, because the paradox of choice is that you will never be happy with your choices when presented with so many potential options. Isn't that just the catch-22 of modern living, is we have options and we still can't choose. So I continue to think about it. I don't have an answer yet. I don't think I need to rush into an answer. I, in fact, shouldn't. What is my health insurance situation? Currently, I'm on Medicaid. That is my health insurance right now. So if I look for a full-time job, hopefully my employer will have medical plans in place because we still don't have universal health care. Crackers. Let's do it. How were you able to get on Medicaid? I am not going to be a social worker on this live. You need to do that Googling yourself. There's qualifications that you need to go through, and then you apply through your state marketplace on the internet. All right, I'm gonna set a timer for 1 hour, and then we'll see how much of that hour we actually end up using. My grandma is fine. She threw a fit yesterday because they didn't give her something. Sandwiches? She called me and she was like, come immediately. And I was like, I will not come immediately. And guess what? She survived. So, you know what? Maybe 1 tablespoon is enough. And maybe we don't need 3. But where is my sesame seeds? There we go. Yeah, just go on the, if you're in New York, just go on the NY State website. Literally just Google New York State Medicaid. It'll bring you to the place that you need to be in. You'll just need to fill out your profile. You'll need to enter your employment information or your letter of unemployment, and if you've ever applied for public benefits, you should already have a profile on there. I have never crossed paths with Sola in person. No. Negativo. Deep fried crackers, that's fun. I'm just gonna bake them. Cool roommate simulator. Yeah, for when you actually want roommates. I'm toasting the seeds until I see the sesames turn golden because Nigella seeds are black, and therefore it is hard to tell when they have toasted. So I am pairing them with something that's white, like white sesame seeds, and we are toasting them together so we can observe the color changes on the sesame seeds to avoid burning both of them. again, Claire says, it's hard to believe places in the world still don't offer the basic human right of affordable health care. I don't actually think we have human rights. We think we have human rights because it sounds nice for our species to have human rights, but we certainly don't treat people like they have rights. We treat people like they need to earn their right to live. So in terms of that, seeing how most of the world is run under the system of capitalism, it is not really conducive to keeping capitalism going in terms of selling shit that we don't need to sell and producing shit that we don't need to produce if we guarantee everyone health. Because you can only sell people shit if you break them. Because then you need to create problems in order to provide solutions to problems that didn't need to be in there in the first place. So that is why most people are on board with saying fuck capitalism now, because we've started realizing that this is the case. But the problem is we don't actually have any alternatives to existing with capitalism, because we've gotten so far along in the system that we are mired in it, and we have become a part of capitalism. And if we extinguish capitalism, we essentially extinguish ourselves, and so we are stuck. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. For all the states that are taking away, like, trans rights, you know, I just don't know. I guess we don't like fun things. We want people to be miserable and dry and boring so we can continue to sell them solutions to the lack of happiness that we have deprived them of without really needing to deprive them of such things. But here we are again on a Monday, complaining about life. What else is there to do, right? Great. Cool. I think 2 tablespoons is good. Adding some oil in here to try to infuse the oil with the toasty Nigella flavor, and we're just going to let that cool. We're going to sip some tea. I encourage you to drink some tea. And I don't remember where I put my oil cap. That's not good. There it is. It's okay, we found it. And now I will measure out my dries. An whole wheat cracker. Don't know if that's a good idea, but ooh, a spoon that I left in there and forgot. A mystery spoon, yes. Congratulations, me. We're gonna add some sugar and baking powder and salt. Where did my salt go? I think that might have made it too salty, but we shall see. Yeah, sesame seeds with sugar is amazing. I used to basically eat this toast after high school, just like white Wonder Bread spread with a thin layer of Chinese tahini. Chinese sesame paste tastes very different from the Middle Eastern tahini, by the way. It tastes more toasty and a lot drier and not as bitter as Middle Eastern tahini can taste. And then I would just sprinkle white granulated sugar on top, and that would be one of my favorite snacks. It tasted a little bit mocha-y. Very coffee vibes. We're gonna wash our hands. And we're gonna pour in this oil mixture with our seeds. I'm just distributing the oil with the flour so that it turns into a wet sand. I will direct you to the live title. The title actually contains some information sometimes. But I get it. Sometimes people just want to make chatter and they ask what we're making. No worries. Okay, so right now I'm just going to show you what this dough looks like. If you squeeze, it holds the shape a little bit. It's like dampened with the oil, and it falls off in chunks like this. And now we're going to add in water. For the water, I will put it into a bowl. Okay. Yeah, I bet this flour tastes really good. 1, 2. Let's go in with 2 first. Not a lot of water, but again, this is a cracker dough, so we don't want to make it like gluey. We just want it to hold together so that it's basically like dumpling dough. You know, now that I think about it, I probably should have put some cornstarch in here for crunch. Whoops. Didn't think about that. Why don't you come closer? Technically not too late to add cornstarch, but let's see how this goes. I want to keep the recipe relatively simple, so if I could just use 1, then I'm just going to use 1. Seems like we're going to need a tablespoon more water. I don't have the recipe yet, and you will have to wait for this. Unfortunately, I cannot release the recipe. You will just have to join me blindly and observe the textures. Maybe you can mimic the recipe without actually having the amounts and fly a little on your own. See where life takes you without recipes. Okay, one more. This feels nice. This feels good. Flour, baking powder, sugar, salt, seeds, oil, water. That's it. This is with a 1/4 cup of water so far. It feels a little dry. But I think another tablespoon will wet it too much. So, this is the hard part where I decide what to do. I think I might stop here, actually. Let's taste a little bit of this dough. Ooh! Rather lovely. Rather lovely. Not like very exciting, but it's just a nice base cracker. Could I put more seeds in it? Potentially, yes. Could I put more oil in it? Also, yes. What I'm gonna do right now is chop half of that dough, let it sit for half an hour while I roll out the other one to see what the difference is. This enables me to kind of recipe test slightly different methods without having to make the batch all over again, which is always good if you're just one person recipe developing at home. You just have to wing it enough times and not get discouraged by the quote-unquote failures. Consider them lessons. Take at least one conclusion away from what might have gone wrong or not as ideal as you would have hoped, and that will be material to learn what not to do or what to tweak. That's just all part of development. Nobody does it and succeeds on the first time. Well, maybe some people do, but not all of us can. Whoops. Oh, I don't have saran wrap. Let me see what I can do. Maybe I'll put it into a pint container. Some people use leftover rice in a waffle maker, but I ain't got one, so. I'm also going to put my slightly dampened paper towel in there to help it stay moist, since it's not completely airtight. Okay, now we are going to set a 30-minute timer to see how much that dough rests in that time. And we roll this out. It's definitely cracking and a little bit dry right now, right off the bat. We already know that will just come with the territory. So this dough is supposed to be moist enough that it's not cracking, but also dry enough that it's not sticking, so that you don't need to use any flour on your workbench when you're rolling it out. I want to make sure that it is about 1/8 of an inch thick. That is my favorite thinness for crackers. I think we're here. We are here. We have arrived. It's not perfectly even on the edges, which if you're perfectionistic, you can definitely trim off, re-roll those edges. If you want perfect crackers, I cannot care less. So now I'm going to ask you, do you guys prefer rectangular crackers or do you prefer square crackers? I'm going to preheat the oven. rectangular it is. Let's see. We have about 10 inches across and about 8 inches across. So let me do 1 inch. No, 1.5 inch? Maybe 1.5. 1.5 inch. Yes. 2 inches? 1, 2, no, 1.5 inch. Wow, that took too long to decide. Okay, 1.5 inch. Trim off a little bit of that roughness. And then we'll go 3 inches. So 1, 2. Okay. Let me write that down. And now we think about whether or not we want to brush these with something. I'm thinking brush them with a little bit of water or olive oil. Water helps you cling to the crackers. Olive oil obviously makes it tastier. Your decision. I actually don't even know if we need to rest this dough. It actually rolled out quite nicely. Oops. Without the rest. So crackers, easy-ish, easy-ish. Since my pan is already oily, I'm just going to pour more oil so I don't have to wash another oily thing. And we will brush with a little bit of oil right across. And I'm gonna top with this nice salt. Since I have it. It's crunchy. It's big. Might be too big actually. Might be too crunchy. Let's see. Crush it a little bit. if you have leather hands that don't have feelings anymore, you can crush the salt apparently with just your fingertips. It does kind of hurt, not gonna lie. I guess I do have feelings after all sometimes. Maybe by the end of the year I won't. I think all I need is a few more Hinge days to fuck me up, and then I'll be done. I'll be invincible. Just knocking off all the extra salt and letting them sift to the end of the row here, and we can herd them back into a bowl. Maybe I'll put them into my little salt shaker with my iodized cheap ass salt. A little fancy with a little plebeian, huh? I'm super curious just to know what my audience is. Obviously, this is so unscientific because I'm not going to require you to tell me, so it's a self-selecting pool of data. But if you feel comfortable enough sharing, if you have disposable income that allows you to buy spices priced at Burlap and Barrel price ranges comfortably, just like raise your hand in the chat. Because I feel like most of my viewers probably won't be spending $9 on a jar of spices, but I'm curious. The price range is usually around 9 to 12 per jar. And the jars are yay big, and they last at least a year in terms of how much I use them. But that's good to know. So I have at least some people who would be, because I don't want to like constantly be using spices that I feel like would alienate people, but obviously they're just higher quality spices. You can still use spices that are cheaper, that have similar flavors because they are the same spice after all. Like for example, I think this jar is like $9. You could probably get a bag of Nigella seeds with like 4 times this amount for half the price from Patel Brothers, which I have bought before, but they really don't taste anywhere near as good as this. But we're gonna slide these in. I think most people can hear my sound, right? Can you nod if you can hear my sound? All right, timer on. So that took half an hour. Bake 10 to 12 minutes. Cool. So apparently cinnamon is Burlap and Barrel's top selling spice. I just learned that today in a team meeting. And they also introduced a vanilla powder, which is selling super well. So, so this dough has been resting for 12 minutes. Oh yeah. Oh, it feels much looser. for sure. If you let your dough rest, it will relax. Vanilla powder. Yes, we're so used to vanilla extract, but vanilla powder. See, this is why I love working with dough, because Alice, you are right. We are like dough in so many ways, and working with dough has taught me, like, just unconsciously so many characteristics that apply to humans as well. You taste better when you relax, and you relax better when you have time. And a lot of the times you just need to sit there doing nothing, and you need to be like a little bit protected from the elements to be fully relaxed. And dough likes to feel safe and cared for, but it can take a lot of like tumultuous abuse as well. It will tear, but it will heal itself over time. Anything can be dough, and you don't need to have a specific recipe to be dough. There are so many different kinds of dough, and they all turn out very different kinds of tasty treats. And different people enjoy different kinds of tasty treats that emerge from different doughs. And it can be sweet, or it can be savory, and it can be eaten alongside a lot of other things, consumed in different ways, repurposed for different things. And even if you mess up the recipe, you will still bake into something that will be enjoyable, as long as you know how to work with it and treat it in the way that it is most amenable to being treated. Have fun at the dentist, Stacy. Vanilla beans are very expensive. They're very intense to grow, and also with climate change, there's been a lot more storms that wipe out crops, making the supply dip, and demand goes proportionally up, which increases prices. Everyone needs to be needed. Oh my gosh, Jasmine. Look at you. This smells amazing right now. I'm not sure you can see it, but... Oh, you can see it. Look at that. Look at them. They're so cute. They're puffing. Puffing into little crunchy bits that I hope will be delicious. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So maybe this yields about 26 crackers, 2 dozen. Okay. I don't think I have time to go to the gym today. In the community channel, I posted a survey, and I guess it's a poll, where I asked people if you would like to see a video where, obviously I'm going to be cooking, of course, but a video that touches on, or more intentionally explores, my relationship with food, my relationship with my body image issues, my disordered eating history, where I'm at now, things that go through my head as I think about these relationships. And I understand that it can be triggering for some folks who are dealing with body image issues and disordered eating issues and all the other related issues that just are comorbid with so many of these issues. And I also know that it can be very insensitive towards folks with very different lived experiences, people who identify as fat people, dealing with fat-phobic comments and frames of what it means to be healthy. So it can be a treacherous topic to touch, but I do feel like I have been thinking about it a lot, struggling with it personally a lot, that it is just kind of like an organic video to emerge out of what I'm already thinking about, rather than resisting all the thoughts and the judgments that come with all these ruminations, that I could just maybe go through a week of eating and cooking and thinking transparently and hopefully with some kindness to myself about these topics. So I cannot promise that I won't be insensitive. I cannot promise that I won't embody a lot of toxic ideals, ideas, frameworks, because I am struggling with these things so much because I do embody and believe in very toxic, fatphobic frameworks, because it's just what I've absorbed over the years from various different sources and teachings and brainwashings and dogmas. But I think this is a part of my personal journey that maybe some of you can identify with as an echo, that I'm trying to actively work myself out of. Like, the way that I think about weight gain, the way that weight gain makes me feel, the way that these feelings make me think less of myself, are things that I have dealt with for half of my life now. And at some point I'm just like, you have gone through this cycle of hating yourself and loving yourself, maybe for all the wrong temporary reasons, enough times that maybe it's time to try to disengage from the cycle and try to find an alternative way of thinking about it and framing it and beholding yourself, and existing in such a way that you don't have to go through this like roller coastery up and down of judging. And you know, judgment can feel good sometimes and judgment can feel bad sometimes. So yeah, a lot of comments under that community post say things like, as long as you're comfortable with it, as long as it's not hurtful to you. And obviously I think a lot of these thoughts are hurting me already. So will making a video hurt me more? I don't think so. I think I don't think I can ever be one of those YouTubers that just sits in front of the camera and talk. Even on these live streams where I do that, like most of the time, I do intersperse it with cooking, because thoughts come to me as I move through life. They don't exist in a vacuum in my head. So I think in order for me to stop flagellating myself with these thoughts, I do have to like utter it into existence, not just once, but as a practice. And I think the process of making a video over the span of a week and just processing it constantly in front of a camera and then reprocessing it again during the editing and then reprocessing it again, seeing people watch it and react to it. I smell the crackers. Oh my god, guys. They're so pretty. They smell so good. They smell delightful. But I think we need more time. So probably 12 to 14 minutes. You enjoy the live streams where I just sat on the floor with headphones and not talking. I can do that again. The smell-o-vision for the crackers, I'm telling you, it's worth paying the premium price for the smell-o-vision. It's amazing. And I don't want to frame it as thinking positively. I totally understand what you mean, but I also just want to question the framework even of thinking negatively versus thinking positively. I'm not trying to positive think myself out of self-abuse. Let's put it that way. The way that I consider my body as something that I can control completely, that I can manipulate into perfection, is self-abuse in a lot of ways. I'm not trying to substitute that with positive thinking, because I think positive thinking as a term and a concept is also a sort of self-abuse, because in herding your thoughts into like the camp of positivity is also a sort of coercion. Coercion is violent. Violence is never going to create peace. think of this video process for me as an active way to sit with thoughts. Instead of sitting, I am psychologically sitting in it, stewing in it, literally making a stew maybe and consuming it. Yeah. Yeah. Sarah, what do you mean your sourdough starter keeps dying on day 5? Sourdough starters shouldn't like die. Maybe they become less active, but I don't know what you mean by dying. Okay, 12 minutes in, looking good. Looking good. I'm gonna go 2 minutes more. Getting watery and losing bubble means it's hitting the peak of activity sooner than you're used to seeing it, which makes a lot of sense. Are you retaining the same amount of starter and discarding the same amount of starter as you were in the beginning? Are you keeping more of that starter in and adding the same amount of flour and water? Are the temperatures, ambient temperatures, increasing? In the summertime, your starter will have a shorter window of peaking to activity because increased temperatures mean they work faster. Think about winter. We get slower in winter, we get colder, we don't want to move as much. In the summer, a lot more activity. It does not mean that it's died, it just means that you might need to feed it more water and flour and or discard more of the original starter so that it's not eating through as much of the flour and the water food as quickly. You might be surprised if you checked in on it within just 2 hours after feeding. You'll probably start to see a lot of bubbling activity and then it'll probably die after 4 hours. So it might be the interval, the activity level of the sourdough starter is changing. Sourdough is not, usually it doesn't die, it just means it needs to be fed a little bit more. It's growing, think about it that way. Oh yeah, nice. I'm gonna pull 2 of these. I'm gonna put the rest back in. We'll see how they keep in there for 2 more minutes just as a test. But here we are, golden crackers. We're gonna let it cool completely because crackers might feel malleable when they first come out. And if you just let them rest a little bit, they'll crisp up more. It's also so hot to eat right now. That was about 14 minutes in a 350 oven. Okay, so Sarah, rye flour encourages more activity. Rye flour is less processed. It will eat through your meal, your food, your flour and your fresh water faster than all-purpose flour because it contains more of the bran, more of the germ, more of everything that gives it natural bacteria and yeast. So Rye flour encourages a lot more growth, which is why rye starter can turn tart super fast compared to all-purpose flour, because rye already has a tart flavor to it, and then you add in the speed of activity. You know, once it chews through all the food, it outputs gas, fermentation happens. Fermentation usually means more sour flavors. So it might smell different than an all-purpose flour starter. All things to keep in mind. I usually discard most of the starter. And when I say discard, I keep the discard for sourdough crackers. But keeping half of the starter and feeding it cup by cup, it just sounds like you're outputting a lot. I don't know how much bread you're using this for, so it really depends on what your needs are, but I very rarely keep half of the starter. I usually just keep, like, for one bread recipe, probably keep like 30 grams of starter and then feed it. So, you know, just play with the amounts. Again, throwing away half of the starter, like half of 100 grams of starter is 50 grams, but half of 500 grams of starter is 250 grams. So, like, again, that changes. If you're feeding it 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of water, like, are you starting with 50 grams of starter or are you starting with 250 grams of starter? Like, that's all different. Eddie says, been thinking a lot lately about how my perception of others' perception of me drives so much of my actions. Welcome to being a human, buddy. Yes. So golden. We love to see it. Look at this perfection of goldenness. It's quite nice. Will you look at that? It's been half an hour of our other dough resting. Let's roll it out. Woo! That is a plain cracker that has just the right amount of sweetness to bring out that natural whole wheat flavor without it tasting like dirt. It tastes a little bit like toasty peanut butter almost. A little bit of like slightly toasted pecans. Lard and crackers sound amazing. Sound amazing. Okay, let's roll it out. Roll out. I would say that was a successful recipe development session. Oh, I need to say brush with olive oil and top sprinkled with salt. You put some tuna on that cracker. I do have tuna, but I'm not gonna put it on there. Have you been getting a new coupon? Benjamin, what? What coupon? What coupon? H Mart. No, they didn't give out those coupons anymore. Doesn't mean I can't do it. I have been thinking about doing a Trader Joe's one, y'all. I want to do a Trader Joe's haul, but I need my life to be in a more stable place. And I also really want to I want to finish the asexual video. I'm procrastinating real hard on that one. I think as I dig deeper into these more personal issues, they become a lot more weighty for me to think about, and it kind of paralyzes me, but you know what they say, get out of your comfort zone. I think it's a good exercise for me. I understand that video got a lot of views. I'm very thankful for that, but I'm also trying to keep in mind that I don't want to box myself into a category of content. I think it would be nice for me to do those like every 3 months. There's a reason why we couldn't do a Budget Eats every month. It's just a lot of work, and now that I'm a one-person team, something that requires that much constant work, and the volume of work involved in doing that, I just need to make sure that I'm keeping it sustainable in the end for myself. I don't really want to burn out. I don't want to get sick of making content. And I want it to be, first and foremost, enjoyable, which I think really affects how you guys experience it as well. Because if it becomes less enjoyable for me, it will probably become less enjoyable for you sooner or later. But I appreciate all of the recommendations and the suggestions. I hear you. I know it's really fun to watch something like that. And it is really fun for me to film something like that. But it is exhausting. The pan that I'm using, this pan, it's called Remicular. It's pretty expensive. It's not a budget-friendly pan, but it works pretty well, and it is pretty easy to clean, and I got it for free. So there you have it. Guys, you're always too hungry for these lives. That's why you need to pull up to these lives with snacks on hand or ingredients to make trash food alongside me with, you know? Can't just show up without a plan in place. I mean, you can, but then you'll be complaining about how hungry you are. And you can for sure complain. That's so on brand for these lives, but I want you to have food for yourself, you know? The The thing about crackers too is you can put them really close to each other. They won't expand that much, and even if they start baking into each other, you can probably push them apart. They are very amenable to being pushed around. They're nice little pushovers. I'm going to finish writing this recipe, and then I am going to go on my second date. I have gone on 8 first dates, the second round of Hinge, y'all. It is exhausting. Today will be my second date. So that's what I'll be doing with the rest of my rainy Monday. There is a lot of those. I think I've been meeting a lot of nice people with not a lot of chemistry, which is fine, I think. But it also really depends on whether or not you're checking in with each other about your intentions, right? Some people are totally okay with being friends. I had one date who was like, if we can't date romantically, then I have to tap out. And I was like, I respect that. So you just have to be on the same page. Yes, if you're talking about that time that I asked you guys all about the glass jar bringing to the date, I did end up not bringing the jar, and I did end up eating it all right then and there. As they say, the best laid plans of mice and men, so on and so forth. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to move the camera. A lot more crowding happening here. I'm gonna turn the oven back on to 350. We are going to, why so many dates? I don't know, because I'm a masochist. I joke about it, but I also am quite serious about it. I think I realized when I was in high school, when I had to pick piano pieces for piano examinations, my teacher always wanted me to go with the easy pieces, because obviously you can score higher if you're gonna pick a easy song selection to play, because you can master it much better. But I always had to sign myself up for practicing the melodies that I liked that were maybe more technically difficult, and she never understood why, because it was just for the sake of a test. But for me, I just like to do things the hard way sometimes. I don't know if it's because I like hard things or because I like things that unfortunately just end up being harder than my other options. So I feel like I've been masochistic for a lot of my life in that I don't tend to make things easy for myself, but they just feel a little bit more worth doing in a lot of ways. Do I think this is triggering for my need for perfection? I mean, my hot take is that being triggered is actually really good practice. Like, I think we all need to be a little more triggered so that we could learn how to have plan Bs and coping mechanisms in place. I think our culture has tended towards coddling. I'm not saying expose yourself to all the harms that you're not ready to expose yourself to. I'm just saying we all need to be practiced in terms of how to deal with unideal and abusive circumstances, because they will happen, right? It's just a fact of life. I'm also keeping in mind that different people prefer different things. Just because I like doing things a certain way doesn't mean other people will, and it also doesn't mean that it'll yield the same results for you as it does for me, which is why I'm so anti-recipes, you know? Like, recipes teach you one size fits all, but it actually doesn't. Recipes create a culture of misleading and perfectionism. Maybe unintentionally, but we stopped looking at recipes as a blueprint culturally, and we started looking to them as a Bible. And nothing should ever be taken as doctrine that doesn't need interpretation. Even the Bible has gone through several layers of translation over time. You can call it the voice and the words of God, but it has been filtered by so many agents. I wouldn't say the free versions of dating apps are a waste of time. I've never paid for dating apps, so maybe that's why I'm having a harder time than other people are, but I mean, it's still enjoyable. It's just how much of results do you want to see immediately? For me, I enjoy the process, and you know, you can always take a break. You should take a break. You should always be checking in with yourself. That's just a self-care mechanism that a lot of life teaches you, including dating apps. Dating apps teach you that too. Welcome to the bake-along. Okay, going in. We're gonna bake these for 15 minutes from the get-go so that I don't open the oven, and it's also a fuller tray this time so we can observe. Thank you for your well wishes. For the date. And not gonna lie, it's been kind of hard going on dates with body image issues, that's for sure. Do you want his first, last name, address, phone number, and social security number too? Wow, really hitting hard with all of these very personal questions. I do have some boundaries, y'all. Not many, but some. I wish I knew his bank account number. Could come in handy. You never know. Just as like a little security deposit in case he fucks my life up again. Like the last guy. Then I could have a little bit of a revenge session. How do people just routinely give so much trust over to complete strangers, you know? How do I know you are who you say you are? How do I know that you do what you say you do? How do I know that you aren't what you say you aren't? How do I trust you? Should I trust you? Why do I trust you? When should I trust you? Why should you trust me? All very good questions. Well, if you can't trust anyone, then you definitely shouldn't be going on dates. It sounds exhausting. That's the problem, is if you're not ready to trust, dating is going to be that much harder. And that is true, Alice. Sometimes you don't know even after years. Years. Yeah, I agree with Sarah. I can't just operate without trust. It's exhausting to live life without any trust. And so even if somebody fucks it up for me, I still need to be open to trusting other people that haven't fucked me up yet. Because in order to have a coping mechanism where I distrust everyone because one person fucked me over, then in a lot of ways that person's traumatic behaviors run over my life, and I can't let one person run my life like that. Because if I do, that in itself is a sort of death. It's an hour and 24 minutes to walk on a rainy day, or 50 minutes by bus and subway. I hate that. I hate this. deal with buses in Queens. Sounds miserable. I might have to walk it, y'all, which means I need to drop off in the next 10 minutes. Sorry, I'm using you as a mirror. I'm trying to decide if I need to change out of this. I don't think I want to. I have to walk. Yeah. Knockdown Center from Northern Boulevard. Yep. Buses get really fucked up in the outer boroughs. They run perfectly fine in Manhattan, like so many things run perfectly fine in Manhattan, but buses in the outer boroughs, especially under inclement weather, not trustworthy at all. I didn't apply soap. This is basically a thin cast iron, so I just rinsed it with hot water and now I'm drying it on a medium heat and I'm wiping away all the excess oil, and this is my easy way of seasoning a cast iron. Success. Babysit my crackers for me, okay? I'm gonna go pee. Wow, you saw that they were over browning? Same. You're right though. Thank you. All right. Cool, we're gonna let that chill. I'm gonna put on some makeup and then we're gonna leave for the day. Oh, I didn't, is this what I wanted? This is what I want, cool. Did you join the Spice Club? Yay, welcome aboard, welcome aboard. Thank you, Benjamin. How kind of you. Okay, that was the, we're gonna be a YouTube makeup tutorial now. That was a 4-year-old tube of haze of cloud paint. This is Beam. We're gonna combine some colors. This has a orangey glow to it. Pastel orange. I don't need makeup. Nobody needs makeup. Yes, indeed. Nobody needs makeup. And it's barely any. And then we're gonna do a little balm. That's it. Cool. Bye. Have a great week ahead.